on now to video number 2 of Mockingbird by Catherine Erskine. So as mentioned, the book refers to the film To Kill a Mockingbird. On page 87 and 88, Caitlin explains how the first time she watched it, she waited through the whole film for the dad to shoot a mockingbird, and she did not understand the true meaning until her brother, Devon, explained it to her. The meaning is that it's wrong to shoot someone who is innocent and was never going to hurt you in the first place. Now, if I was Caitlin, I would also have taken the title literally, and I would have really struggled to understand the metaphorical meaning. Often growing up, I watched a lot of films, growing up as a teenager in particular, and my mum would always kind of have to explain what things meant in films to kind of give me an understanding of what was going on, the motives, because I couldn't work out if a character was lying or if they had a hidden agenda, or, all of that was like beyond my grasp. So my mum spent a lot of time explaining these things to me, which I think obviously helped in terms of my comprehension, because my comprehension of the world is a lot better than it was then, although I do still struggle, not to the same extent, but it is still hard for me to work these things out in fiction and films without, say, reading a commentary about it. So I could definitely relate to Caitlin taking the title of a film literally, because I wouldn't have understood that without a commentary. So as I say, as an adult, I do have to read other people's notes to understand the symbolism, as it does not come naturally to me, but once explained, I will understand it eventually. Part of the book that sat uncomfortably with me was Caitlin's counsellor, Mrs. Brooke, who walked with Caitlin through the playground, helping her make friends. Now, I would have hated to be singled out in that way, aged 10, and I'm sure there are more discreet ways of helping autistic people. It's not really, no 10-year-old would really want an adult to be sort of walking them through the playground. That's just calling attention to their difference, really. Let me know what you think in the comments box below. Now, Caitlin finally makes a friend in Michael, who is a lot younger than her. I can relate to this too, as I found it a lot easier to relate to younger kids at school. On page 185, Mrs. Brooke tells Caitlin about the differences within autism. I cringed when I read the line, "We all fall on a spectrum of behaviour somewhere." This is completely false. Someone is either autistic or they are not. Although, of course, it is true that everyone is on the human spectrum, we all are, but that is not the same thing at all. So you're either autistic or you're not autistic. It's a clinical, categorical diagnosis, in my opinion. Mrs. Brooke also presented the spectrum as a line and claimed that Caitlin is very high functioning, as she is very smart and capable. Again, I disagree with this. Caitlin might be smart, but the book shows very clearly how much she struggles and functions poorly in many other areas, such as taking things literally. I think the spectrum as a line is incorrect, because autism is not one dimension, but includes many dimensions or traits that can vary within the same person. And of course, like, autism is not one condition, it's actually many different conditions. I think that psychiatry is at a really young stage, because it's still lumping all these different social problems together as one thing, when clearly they are not the one thing. What causes my particular problems is going to be very different to another person with social difficulties, and yet it's all called autism, for want of a better word. But I'm hoping that in future we'll be able to more fine-tune it and understand for different causes and things, and to create, I think, more like accurate sort of subgroups of things like that. So it's clearly not all in line, because it's not the same condition. I also did not like the way that Caitlin's world is portrayed as devoid of colour. Caitlin only draws in black and white, mirroring the autistic trait of all or nothing thinking. I felt the character herself was portrayed by Erskine in a rather black and white manner, as alluded to in the comment about the spectrum as a line and Caitlin being high functioning. So it's ironic that Caitlin is being portrayed as black and white, and yet the portrayal of autism itself by a non-autistic writer is very black and white. So yes, that was interesting. I felt this was a rather harmful characterisation, as it implies that autistics don't have interesting, colourful lives, full of complexity and vibrancy. Just because you're autistic, it doesn't mean, we're all human, aren't we? Autism is really to describe our deficits. I do believe that autism is a disability, but, so we get the diagnosis to help us understand and, to get the support that we need and things like that. But we're human, and we have, just because we're autistic, it doesn't mean our lives aren't colourful or interesting. You know, that's important. So yeah, I felt that was a rather harmful characterisation. Caitlin was also portrayed as lacking empathy, something which she gains as part of the story's redemption theme. She also learns to see the big picture and to see colour. However, in contradiction to the idea that Caitlin originally lacked empathy, she was portrayed as being caring in her own way right from the beginning. For example, she gave her friend Michael some of her gummy worms and was clearly deeply affected by her brother's death. It's true that autism can make it hard to empathise with others in the conventional way. I think there's a lot of kind of like PC, kind of like, people try to be all PC and try to kind of like, oh, we mustn't talk about autism as autistic people are struggling with empathy, that's not PC, you know, so now people use euphemisms and things like that. But I do think actually, at least for some autistic people, there is quite a big struggle with empathy. I know that actually growing up, I really did lack, maybe lack's a bit too extreme, but I definitely had really quite severe problems with empathy to the point where I would annoy other kids and it wouldn't, like, they would get annoyed, obviously they get annoyed at me annoying them, but I didn't understand that they had feelings. The whole concept of feelings, I didn't understand at all. So to me, they're just like my playthings, and I could be quite, very annoying. And because they were, I didn't see them as people with feelings. I wasn't trying to be vindictive or anything. I didn't actually understand they had feelings. So, you know, I just saw them as like playthings. So I definitely struggled with empathy in that more conventional sense growing up. It didn't mean I wasn't caring or anything. You know, I could be very caring in my own way. I was really caring towards my younger brother, and I looked out for him and things like that, you know, and I could be very caring, you know. And, you know, like when my brother was unwell or when he hurt himself, I got really upset, which obviously shows I was caring, and you know, so it wasn't like I was like, you know, didn't have feelings or anything like that, but I did struggle with certain forms of empathy, yes. As I've got older, I've become a lot more empathetic, but I do still struggle. So you know, there is obviously a grain of truth that autistics do struggle with empathy. I don't think that we should be all PC and coy about admitting it, because I do think there is some truth in it. But however, to imply that autistics are not caring or only think about themselves, well, as I say, thinking about themselves does contain a grain of truth, because we can be quite egocentric, particularly when young. But it is, you know, I think it's just a bit too extreme and also quite damaging to imply that because of that autistics don't care or don't have feelings. That bit is just simply not true at all, and is really quite damaging, because we do have feelings and we do care. It's just that it's in a different way to what non-autistics expect. It's not conventional. Just because you struggle with empathy, it does not follow that you don't care. We know we're not psychopaths at all, and I think that's the danger, is that implying that we don't have feelings and we don't care, it can sort of almost put us in the same category, and I think that can lead to quite a number of harmful stereotypes and characterisations about autism that are really quite deeply hurtful and just not at all accurate. So because of the stereotypes and exaggerations in this book, I cannot rate this book as highly as Can You See Me? I will give it 3 or 4 out of 10 for its portrayal of autism. However, it is still worth a read, particularly because of its interesting allusion to Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, and although the characterisation of autism in here is quite extreme and stereotypical, it's not completely off the mark either. I mean, it's extreme and stereotypical, but there will be autistics out there who do display some of the behaviours that Caitlin displays. You know, maybe not all of them, and maybe not to quite the extent that she does in this book, but there are still some areas in there that you can relate to nevertheless. Okay, so that ends my review of Mockingbird. I hope you enjoyed the book. Do let me know what you think about my review in the comments box below, and I shall look forward to speaking to you again next Wednesday, so thank you for watching.